joke that I'm the class of 2006. I think it sounds cooler than having a sobriety date. But that is, my sobriety date is May 1st, 2006. So I've been doing this thing one day at a time, a few days in a row now. And when I came to be sober, I have a background in media. I've worked for newspapers, magazines, TV stations. So that is my background. So I'm obsessed with content creation, specifically as it pertains to lifestyle content. So when I got sober back in my day, this makes me sound like an old timer, but back in my day when I was on MySpace, right, there wasn't sober MySpace, sober Facebook. In fact, thank goodness, social media was just getting started and I mostly missed it. Like I've mostly been sober for all of social media. Thank God, because I was a drunk dialer. I was a drunk dialer, you guys. So like I would have been a hot mess on social media. Hot mess. And so, back when I got sober, there was a really small section at Barnes and Noble. Yeah, that's when we still went to bookstores. Really small section of self-help, right? There weren't podcasts. There wasn't social media. I think there was the Grapevine through Alcoholics Anonymous. There wasn't a lot of literature, right? There wasn't a lot of content. And what we were seeing that was showing up in films and TV shows was the very stereotypical Sandra Bullock 28 Days, right? Which we all know how much I love that movie. I made a Peeps diorama of it. That's how much I love that movie. So I've had a front row seat of watching recovery go from being anonymous to being recovering out loud, and for there being no content to being so much content. How do you even sift through it all? And there's been a massive explosion in just the last 3 years since launching the Sober Curator. But you can see an uptick right around 2015. You can see a definite start to uptick of recovery content coming online between podcasts and books and memoirs. And so as I moved through my recovery and once I hit like the 10-year mark, I really started to think like, man, I wish there was a website or a blog or a book or something that I could go to that would like tell me where all the other cool sober stuff is. Cause I'm a busy gal on the go. Right. And I want to know where all the cool hip stuff is, but I don't necessarily I don't have the time to search and sleuth through it all. So I was trying to find a cool magazine that would tell me where all those things were. And there were some things out there, but nothing really spoke to me. Because the magazines that exist, they're very much targeted at people that are thinking about getting sober or maybe are even newly sober, which is fantastic. I wish that the resources that exist now existed back in 2006. I really do. But there wasn't. And so now there's so much. It's like, how do you know what the good stuff is? And like what I want to tap in today as a person with 17 years sober is very different than what I cared about at 10 years sober, very different than what I cared about at 5 years sober, very different than what I cared about at 1 year sober, right? So I just wanted this hub, this sober buzz feed, if you would, of where all this stuff could live. And then I could sort through and decide for myself what I liked or what I didn't like. So that's really kind of the concept behind the Sober Curator. I'd had the idea for a year or two before the pandemic hit. And then when the pandemic hit, like most people, I was doing dances on TikTok and baking banana bread. I also got like super into diamond painting. I was diamond painting like it was like going to be my new calling in life, right? But then I was like, it kind of hit me like, oh, this pandemic is not going to be 3 weeks like they told us, right? We're going to be here for a while. And I really had this thought that I want to look back at this time because we got so much time back during the pandemic. We were all home. We weren't commuting. I was working from home. And in a household where both my son and I were high risk, like I wanted to be able to look back and say, I used that time well. Right. I used it well. And so I had learned how to build my own website over the years that I mostly just did, not even as a blog, more so as a portfolio of all the events that I had thrown in Seattle over the years. Sometimes I would blog, but I never really fancied myself a writer. I'm more of a talker. And, but I had learned enough, right? I had figured out WordPress. I knew a few things. So I was like, you know what? I could do this. I could figure this out. I had a little bit of extra money that I could maybe fund this project, but I knew what was going to be important is that it couldn't just be my voice and my opinion, although my opinions are pretty fabulous. But I needed it to be a lot of different people, a lot of different looks on recovery, a lot of different pathways to recovery. I know what's worked for me, but there's a lot of different options now. So I wanted to be able to show the variety of everything that's available and then let people pick what's best for them. You know, that's why I never loved like the Yelps of the world, because it's like, why am I going to read a Yelp review? I don't even know if I like the person writing it. Why would I care about what their opinion is? Right. You know, so I really try with the Sober Curator. Like I personally, in my own writing, I give opinions, but not too much. It's like, here, this is what I found out. Go figure it out. Like, see what you like. Right. So I knew I'd have to find other people to help me contribute to it. And I'm very much an attraction, not promotion gal. So I started with a couple of people. There were 4 of us that started. And that was 3 years ago. And now here we are. And there's 20, I don't know. There's over 20 of us. It ebbs and flows. They come and they go, right? Because here's the other thing about creating content, even sober content. It's work. You guys, it doesn't, like, those reels don't magically just poof happen by themselves. Like you've got to think about it. You've got to take the video, you got to take the pictures, you got to write, you got to edit, you got to do all these things. You got to do the SEO on the back end. So, anyway, I'm kind of all over the place, but that is how it came to be. We're 3 years old. We're based in Seattle, but we have Sober Curators all over the country, a couple in Canada, one in Mexico. We used to have some down in Australia. I'm not sure what happened to them. And everybody kind of, I don't set any rules or deadlines. It's like, this is your space. Create what you want. Just know that I'm trying to put together through the lifestyle lens. So what does that mean? That means, of course, we have beverage reviews. We have a happy every hour section that does alcohol-free recipes, mocktails, non-alcoholic wines and beers. I have a guy back east in Detroit. He's done over 100 non-alcohol beer reviews, craft beer reviews. I didn't even know there were that many to choose from, right? But that's been his jam. He loves to write about that. We have sober horoscope, sober tarot card reading, sober travel, sober shopping, sober fashion. Like, I put sober in front of any word. It doesn't matter, right? Because I do it all sober, right?